Hi, I'm Mitch Shoemaker, and today is day 90 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and focusing on my writing. So, yay, I made it to day 90. Um, Not working on any of my stories again. I want to. I'm just struggling with that for whatever reasons. So, today, sorry, my hair is like bugging me. I apologize. I just combed it out and I think I have a loose hair somewhere. One of those things where like I can always tell when it's not attached to my head and it drives me crazy. Um, Random distraction, nothing to do with my writing. Today I am doing some writing, some personal writing. It's from an Al-Anon book, from my 12-step books. I'm not promoting Al-Anon. I know in Al-Anon they say that we're not supposed to like advertise or do outside whatever. I don't represent Al-Anon. It's just something that I do for myself as far as the 12-step program goes. Um, but I am working on this book, and it's personal. I don't want to share a whole bunch of stuff from it, but there's some stuff in it that I do want to share in the video. But it's called Opening Our Hearts and Transforming Our Losses. So this book is a very hard book to get through for me. But there was some things in here that just kind of stuck out to me, and it just reminded me, one, that God is very aware of me in my life, which I'm very grateful for. And two, some things that allow me to be a little bit more gentle and understanding with myself and patient with the process that I'm going through. And maybe I can explain a few things in here, and maybe there's some things that other people are struggling with. So maybe this will be helpful to you as well, which is my point in sharing it today, if I can read it. Okay. This little section, I'm just going to read something out of it. It's still part of the introduction, but it says, things could be worse. True. Things, um, True, things probably could be worse, but they're also probably tough enough just as they are. And I mean, I read that and it kind of just, I don't know. One of those like shifting moments or aha moments for me. I think the realization that a lot of times growing up, it's like, oh, something's bad, something's wrong. It's like, oh, well, it could be worse. Don't worry about it. It could be worse. So you're okay. Um, but there wasn't that, okay, it is bad and I'm sorry. There wasn't that validation that what you're going through is bad enough. It doesn't need to get worse. Maybe it could be worse, but it doesn't have to get worse. It doesn't have to be worse. So and it's okay to be struggling where I'm at or with what I'm struggling with. I don't have to minimize what I'm dealing with or pretend that it's not bad because it could be worse. So that's kind of my little interpretation. Not what the book says, that's my interpretation. Just clarifying that you could have your own interpretation from whatever I'm reading here. Um, and then I like the next part. I just underlined some stuff, so I'm just going to try to read the stuff I underlined. But it says, we may understand that we are grieving or may be confused by the sudden onset of emotions. And I think for me, I don't realize that I'm grieving, or I think that I've grieved stuff in my past. I shouldn't continue to grieve because it's old stuff and it shouldn't keep coming up. Granted, I probably shoved it all down in the first place and didn't actually go through the entire grieving process, which is why it keeps randomly coming up. But I also really relate to the part where it says that I'm confused by emotions. And I really am confused by emotions because I wasn't taught how to process emotions or how to deal with emotions. And sometimes my emotions were given different names by other people. I remember being struggling and being really sick and tired all the time and very lethargic when I was in junior high, and not junior high, I was a junior in high school. And I was missing a lot of school, and my mom kept taking me to doctors to figure out what was wrong. And I actually had a doctor that asked me if I was depressed. And I was like, huh. And I stopped to try to kind of think about it, process that, think maybe I might be. And then my mom was like, oh no, she's not depressed. She's a happy child. And I was like, well, this is happy. I was so depressed. Like, I can look back at my life right now and say that I was so depressed, and that there were things going on in my life that I was grieving, and I was struggling with grieving, and I wasn't being allowed to express that grief or cry over that grief because someone that I was close to me had passed away. Sorry. She was like a grandma to me, but she wasn't my grandma. And so a lot of people that I knew, my friends, people from church, they didn't understand why I was so devastated by her loss or why I would be sad about it. And I remember going to school and I was just sitting there staring off into space, and I had a teacher ask me if I was okay, and I just I didn't want to explain the relationship with this woman, so I just said that my grandma passed away. And my teacher was like, well, should you even be here? Shouldn't you be at home? And I'm like, no, I'm okay, because I wasn't allowed to just stay home or take a few days off. Like, when someone passes away at work, they give you like, what is it, like 3 days of bereavement if it's local, or 5 days if it's, out of town or out of state or whatever. So, I mean, but I didn't get any of that because it wasn't my real grandma. And so I just wasn't given the opportunity to grieve. And it's like, and I know my siblings were grieving and my mom was grieving, but we just didn't continue to talk about it. It was sad, and she was gone. And we knew that we'd see her again someday. And that was, that was it. We talked about what the church teaches about life after death, and that was, kind of it. And I was like, didn't understand that grieving lasts more than just the funeral. It goes way beyond past the funeral. And people that affected our lives, sometimes we still miss them randomly throughout the rest of our lives. That doesn't ever just 100% go away. It lessens, and we can look back fondly on some of those memories. We can continue traditions or things that we learned from them to keep them a part of our lives or share our memories with other people. But these are things that I've had to learn as an adult, and not things that I knew then, and not things that I'm good at doing. Because to me, it's like I just don't want to be around anything that reminds me of this person, because then I will start crying because I haven't processed it. And so when I was doing writing, I was reading this and then doing some writing about it, that all of this memories of her were popping up, and it was sad. It is sad. I am going to continue because you know me, I don't like crying. But I have been, and I probably will be doing some more, especially as I continue to work through this book, because I need to work through this grieving stuff so I can move on with my life. But that was the where was that? That was, oh yeah, the confused by sudden onset of emotions, because I get all of those and I don't even understand what my emotions are most of the time. That was the point of that. And then let me see. I'm skipping the other ones. I wrote about them, but I'm skipping them. The next one that just kind of really hit for me was grief is exhausting. It can make us sleepless, or it can make it difficult for us to get out of bed. We may forget to eat, or we may overeat. And I do all of the above, because I have some days where it's like I know I'm super tired and I just can't seem to let myself go to bed. I just can't seem to shut down. I just can't seem to, whatever. I'm completely sleepless. I'm like a zombie. I'm just kind of, whatever. I'm just there and I just don't care. And I think that might be some form of grief. I'm not really even sure how that works. And then I have other times where I just can't wake up. I just can't get out of bed. I just can't function for the day. And again, it's all those emotions I don't know what to do with. And I'm like, I don't know why I feel depressed today. So frustrating. But I liked the next part in here. It says grief is unpredictable. So I can't predict it. I can't control it. I can't do anything with it. And then it says one day we may wake up feeling some relief, and the next find ourselves depressed. And I think, I've noticed I've had these patterns where I do really good. I do my 100 days, my gratitudes, whatever, my writing, and I do really good. And then something triggers me, and then I realized as I was writing and thinking about it that sometimes it's just the time of year. Like for me, like the holidays, they're hard. Being single, missing family, missing people, being by myself, not having things the way that I want for the holidays, and not realizing that I'm I'm grieving and that I'm missing family and friends and not letting myself cry, instead just trying to make plans to be happy and just keep going and keep moving and keep doing. And uh, like, and then that grief it's exhausting, it's heavy, it's weighing me down, and it's this constant struggle, this fight. And I wonder, I have this crazy notion in the back of my head that if I would actually let myself feel the emotions, if I would actually just be like, okay, I'm grieving today. What do I need to do today? What am I grieving? What am I feeling? What do I need to do to take care of myself? These are all good questions. These are all good things that I need to be doing. These are all things I don't care to be doing. I'm very good at avoiding doing, but I'm aware of them. Um, and then yeah, our recovery depends on our readiness to focus on ourselves. That's the next section I haven't got to, but it's already underlined because I've done this a few times, and I don't know that I've ever got past the first or second chapter. I don't think I've got very far at all in this book because I get so far and then I'm like, yeah, it's too much and I'm stopping. So, I don't know where my little bookmark went. I don't want to lose my bookmark. Anyway, um, I just I wanted to share a little bit of that for anybody that's grieving or struggling, and to know that it's real and it takes long times to process, and you can't put a time limit or a time frame on it. And that's something that I need to remember and to remind myself, because I keep thinking it's been a certain amount of time that the pain and everything is just going to go away, and if I ignore it long enough, I don't have to feel it because it's just going to get better with time. And I think it lessens with time, but it only lessens when we actually feel it, when we actually process it, when we actually share what we're feeling. And the more we share, the easier it becomes to share without crying or getting overly emotional. But we're still always going to be missing the people that we love until we have an opportunity to see them again on the other side. And there is comfort through the Savior. There's comfort in the gospel. There's comfort in knowing that there is life after death, and that's not the end. And sometimes we can feel their spirit, we can feel their presence, and that's meant to be a comfort to us. It's meant to be a gift. It's not meant to be something to run away from or to be depressed or discouraged about. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at today. My day didn't work out quite the way that I wanted, and of course, every time it doesn't, I get discouraged and don't do things. So I wait until the last minute to do things like this, which I don't like doing anyway. But I realize that it's good for me, and it helps to put things into a different perspective. It helps to unwind and untwist some things, like I was talking about yesterday. And that realization that, I'm at the doctor's office and he's asking me if I'm depressed because my mom keeps taking me there to figure out what's wrong with me, why I don't have any energy, what's going on. And that's just kind of also an example of my life growing up, that it wasn't like, oh, there's an emotional problem, because I think when we get emotional, our bodies will have physical reactions. We can have like a physical reaction of being too tired, or getting sick, getting migraines, or stressed out, get ourselves migraines, or have other health issues that get caused or that become worse when we're not processing our grief, when we're not dealing with our emotions. So not facing our emotions, our body's like, okay, you're ignoring the emotion, so we're gonna get your attention in some other fashion. But growing up, instead of dealing with emotions or facing emotions, it's like, oh, I'm just too tired. My body was just physically exhausted, and I just couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't function. I missed too many days of school. So my mom's like, we're going to the doctor. We're going to find out what's wrong with you. Like, it's some kind of medical issue. And it was an emotional issue. And I think a lot of her medical issues that she had before she passed away were probably related to emotional things that she never dealt with. And I don't think she knew how to deal with emotions, so she couldn't teach me how to deal with emotions. And I'm grateful that I can have that compassion for her and for her response to me at this point in my life. But it's still kind of sad to look back and realize that I'm like, I had a doctor that was actually trying to ask if I was depressed, that may have been able to give me some antidepressant medications or suggest counseling or do something to help me. And I had a mother who just didn't see me as being depressed. And she's like, oh no, she's not depressed. She's a happy child. And I'm just like, okay. And I think my poor doctor's just looking at me like, I don't think so, but I'm just gonna have to go with the mom because I'm the minor in the situation. And I just don't know any differently. And I've been to see my doctor as an adult and mentioned being tired all the time, and then go back months later and I'm not tired, and they're like, oh, okay, but they never do figure out what's wrong with me. And I'm like, well, maybe it's because I was stuck in some state of grief that I'm unaware of, or maybe there is something physically wrong. I'm not sure which. Um, and of course, I've been to the doctor and been like, okay, are you depressed? They ask you all those questions now that they didn't used to. And it's like, okay, yes. I'm like, okay, well, we can put you on some antidepressant medications. Oh, this didn't work for you? Well, I don't have anything else to offer you then. Sorry. I'm like, oh, you're so helpful. I don't mean to be sarcastic. Maybe a little bit. I guess I do. I just, I think I spent too much time going to doctors growing up and always being put on medications for everything instead of figuring out the underlying issue. And my body just didn't learn how to fight things off. And now I'm trying to teach it how to fight things off and rebuild my immune system and make it function. It's like, wait, we don't have to do this. We need medication. And I'm like, no, we don't. We don't. And then going to doctors, and then just, I don't like feeling like I'm crazy and telling them there's something going on with me. And then they're like, oh, well, you're just depressed or you're just this. And I'm like, okay, but this isn't normal for me. Like, putting on a whole bunch of weight in a short amount of time is not normal for me. I've never done this before in my life. Something's out of whack with my system. And they're like, oh, are you depressed? You're pre-diabetic? Okay, well, take some antidepressants and lose some weight. I just told you I gained 20 pounds in less than a year. There's something wrong here. I get very frustrated. I haven't been back to see that doctor. Haven't been back to see anyone else either. But that's probably another thing as far as self-care goes. And who knows how much of this is emotional and grief, that this is just my body's response to it, or how much of it is actual physical stuff. So, but I know there's a connection between the emotional things and the spiritual things and the physical things. They're all, and the mental things, they're all connected. And even, socially, it's all connected. And it's all a process. And like it says in that little book, it's unpredictable. And I wish things were very predictable. But it helps me to be a little bit more gentle with myself, and hopefully for anyone watching, to be gentle with yourselves or gentle with me, because I know that I go back and forth, and I know that I do really good for several days talking about all the things that I'm doing, and I'm bouncing around and I'm happy and life is good. And then, the next day I'm like, I'm struggling with all the same things all over again. And I'm just so frustrated that I keep struggling with these things. And it hasn't occurred to me that I'm just it has occurred to me I'm dealing with old emotion. It just hasn't occurred to me that it's grief, and that being depressed or struggling to get out of bed has to do with grieving. And some days I just may not be able to function as well as others because I'm grieving. And it just means I need to learn to do better at recognizing my emotions, naming my emotions, the correct names, figuring out the correct names for my emotions, which actually, oddly enough, requires me to do more writing, more journaling, more working on like this grief stuff, my 12-step work, or even working on my books, because they bring up different things. So I knew it was going to bring up stuff when I chose to do writing. I just didn't realize how much stuff it was going to bring up for me. But it is helping me learn that I can cry, that I have a lot of grief that I haven't processed, a lot of things I've just held on to because I figured it was going to hurt anyway, and I just don't want to hurt, so I'm just going to ignore it. It'll go away, and it doesn't go away. It just continues to interfere in my life. But grief may always be unpredictable. It may always pop up in my life, and there may be future losses and other things that will be issues for me. And like this book said, loss isn't always in reference to death, although today those were the things that came up. But loss can be the loss of a friend, the loss of a job, divorce, separation from family, parents, even just moving, changing jobs. It's like, hey, I moved, and then it's like, and like moving to someplace bigger, better, or whatever, and then but it's still sad to leave the old place behind, because it's like, I've lived here forever and it's sad to say goodbye. Or getting a new job is exciting, but then it's still sad to leave the old one. So you still have to have a little bit of grief for all of those things. And I think a lot of us, or at least me and people that I know, we don't realize that those are things we need to grieve, that we need to cry or we need to say goodbye to, um, those those things in our lives, those jobs, those schools, and all of those things. It's why we have parties. I think for graduation, I graduated from high school, but it's also kind of it's a celebration, but it's also a chance to say goodbye. And I mean, I remember being in college. It was like glorified high school, the 2-year college that I went to. And so it was like we're all like, "Yay, we graduated!" And then it's like me and my roommates were all together. And we're all crying and saying goodbye because we're not going to see each other again. And I really honestly only kept in touch with one of my roommates from when I was in college, and I haven't kept in touch with any of the rest of them. And honestly, I haven't been very good at keeping in touch with her. So we just randomly, sporadically contact each other. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at today, what I'm dealing with, what I'm processing, and I have to be honest, I wasn't. I'm grateful. I'm surprised, but I'm grateful for all the things that have come up during the past 90 days with my writing. And I was hopeful that I would get a lot more towards my books done. Um, but I knew writing them was going to bring up a lot of emotional things. I just didn't realize how much emotional things it was going to bring up. And but it is putting me on a path and in a direction to start learning how to process my emotions and how to face emotions. And I don't I don't know how to put that into like YouTube videos. I mean, I was thinking of doing like 100 days of self-care or something, which could be a lot of different things. Or just continuing my path of going, I'm going to do 100 days of marketing, even though I don't have a book to market yet. But I can learn how to do like thumbnails and other things. So I've got like 10 days and I still have to figure out what I'm doing because I was so set on my marketing. And right now I'm just so emotional. I have all these emotions and it's confusing me. And so now I just feel like everything is just distorted and I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I know that I want to finish my books and I know that God is aware of me and my struggles and my situation and that He is guiding me in the direction that I need to go. And I hope that the things that I am writing and that I am saying or sharing are helpful to other people so that you know that you're not alone, that there's a way up, there's a way out, there is hope, and that things do get better. But everything is kind of cyclical as well. You kind of go in cycles, and but it helps to start recognizing those cycles and recognizing what it is allows us to be gentle with ourselves and to be like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I'm going through. And then I don't have to beat myself up or be upset because I didn't do as much today as I wanted to, or I'm not as far along as I thought I would be because I was dealing with other things. And just because it's old emotion doesn't mean it's not emotion, doesn't mean it's not real, doesn't mean I don't need to process it and deal with it, because I spent a lifetime of being ignored and I learned to ignore myself and my emotions. And so this is a process of me learning to not ignore myself, to not ignore my emotions, to allow myself to feel what's going on in my life and in my day. Um, and, so that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm laughing just a little bit because I was having a little bit of fun earlier today. I was making fun of myself, I guess. Not making fun of myself, making fun for myself. I can't find the right words. I apologize. No, I was just feeling depressed and wanted something like sweets, craving like chocolate or something, and I don't have any of that. And of course, it's Sunday, so I'm not gonna go get any of that. But I had some ginger ale, and so I don't I don't drink or anything like that, but I have these lovely little glasses. I don't even know where I got this lovely little wine glass from. But it was so cool because when I poured the ginger ale and it did the little bubbly thing and it kept like going up and it was just kind of fun to sit and watch. So I'm like, and it kind of looks like, I don't know if it actually looks like alcohol because I don't drink alcohol. To me it does. So it's kind of that the fake stuff, And growing up we would get Martinelli's or something, or we'd get candy cigarettes or whatever. I haven't had those in like years. I don't even think they still make those. It's just kind of dumb. I think they were chalky anyway, but it was just kind of to play at something. When I think sometimes when I get depressed or discouraged, I think, the world is like, oh, go, get drunk or whatever, drown your sorrows in something, which doesn't really work. But I did it just kind of for fun because I'm like, I wanted some ginger ale. I had some. I was just gonna pour me some, and I'm like, oh, I have one of these glasses, and then it just kind of it turned something that I was feeling a little, down or depressed into something fun because then I started laughing and giggling at the little bubbles and stuff going up. So I'm I'm grateful that in the midst of whatever emotions that I have, that I can still recognize God's hand in my life and that I can still laugh and that I can still find things to enjoy. In fact, I'm grateful that I could actually enjoy something, out of my day, to look at something as simple as this glass and the little bubbles popping up and just laughing and enjoying it because a lot of times I feel like I'm not even present in my day because I'm so focused on how my future is going to be different than today, or how horrible my past was and how I have to deal with all that stuff, and it's just way too overwhelming and I can't handle things, and then today just gets lost in all of that insanity. So it's just kind of fun for me to do something, um, because I was just feeling a little down and I did something and it lifted me up and I felt a little bit better and I enjoyed it. I just kind of laughed at myself. I laughed at it and I was like, it's so, fun. So I'm just grateful I could find something fun to do. And maybe I need to try to find more things that are fun or that I can enjoy and just take a moment every day and try to find something that I can enjoy, something new, something from nature, or something simple like this that makes me smile, makes me laugh, because I like to smile and I like to laugh, and I can definitely tell the difference between happy and depressed. And when I'm smiling and laughing and enjoying something like this, I don't feel as depressed. I can feel myself getting a little bit lighter, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I don't have to be stuck and that I can move through the emotions now. They don't just have to take over. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful I can see the differences. It's not easy. It's still a process, and I will probably still go up and down on my little roller coaster. And you can watch my little roller coaster, emotional roller coaster rides as you watch these videos, and my times where I'm doing fantastic, fabulous. Some days where I'm just muddling through, and other days where I'm just like, screw it, this is just a crappy day. I can't do it. But I hope that the crappy days become less and less, and the happy days become more and more, and the muddling through are just somewhere in between. Because we all have mundane, muddle through days, but we can always find something to be grateful for, something to be happy about, and that is my something to be happy about, to be grateful for today. And I think that's all I have for my video. So if you like, you can hit like, subscribe, share with someone else if you think they'll like it too, or if you think it'll help them. And I hope you have a great day full of gratitude and maybe some writing.